Welcome to your very own Picotron machine. This is your new favorite computer and you want to create games with it, right? So let's get started. This is the desktop, you can find some of your files here. This is the start menu where you can find a few settings. These are shortcuts to the essential functions of creating games. First is the code editor. Second is the sprite editor where you can draw and create all the necessary graphics for your game. Let's do a little smiley face here, because we probably need a smiley face. This is the map editor, where you can use these sprites that you've just created to draw a map. Let's go with a little circle of, let's call him Gary, little Garys. This is sound editor, where you can create instruments with synthesizers, play them with your keyboard. You can create sound effects and patterns. This shortcut gets you back to your desktop, and this one gets you to the command line. But you can also always press escape to switch between whatever you're doing and the command line. Let's start to create our game. We said this is Gary, right? Gary really wants to get to a goal, and he's on a big meadow. Let's create this big meadow by creating a grass tile. There's a little bit of grass on this meadow, which we'll draw right now. And we'll use this grass tile to fill the whole map with grass. Super. Now we can draw this map to the screen. Our games and our programs on Picotron have three basic parts. One is function init, which will get executed once on program start, and you can use it to initialize values. One is function update, which will get called 60 times a second. It is where you would put your movement code or your collision checks. And one is function draw, which we're going to use to draw the map. First, we clear the screen, and then we draw our map. Both of these are built-in functions. CLS is just an abbreviation of clear screen, and map is what we will use to draw the map we've just defined. And you can already execute this program. Go to the command line or press escape and type run and enter. You see our glorious big map. Let's spice it up a bit. Let's create another image. We can copy this grass tile over, and this will be a big boulder. A big boulder that Gary somehow has to get around. We'll make it pretty, we'll give it some shading. I've never said very pretty, only pretty. So this is the big boulder that will stop Gary from just walking over to his goal. We'll draw a little map. Perfect. Gary, who will start somewhere around here, will have to get through this very difficult maze to his goal. But let's also draw his goal. This is his goal. Let's go back to the code editor to first draw Gary and then move him over. In our init function, we want to define Gary. Gary is a nobody, but we will create him now. For that, we'll use a variable, which we define by just stating a name for it. The name cannot be any of the built-in functions, but it can be anything apart from that. So let's just call Gary Gary. Gary will be a very special little one. He will be a collection of things, which in Lua is called a table and is defined like this. If you open these up, you can put anything you'd like in there. For example, Gary's position. Let's give him one X value, which will be, let's say 30, and one Y value, which will also be 30 for now. And if we now go down here, we can use the built-in function called sprite to draw the sprite that Gary inhibits, which is sprite 1. You can see the number here. Sprite 1 at Gary dot X, which will be Gary's collection X, and Gary dot Y. And now let's execute this by either going back to the command line and typing run, or by pressing Control and R. Oh, Gary is standing on top of a stone. That's not good. Let's move him down a bit. And maybe right a bit too. That wasn't far enough. Let's go further. Here we are. Gary is no longer standing on a stone. But if I press buttons now, nothing will happen. We have to define that behavior ourselves. Let's do that. In the update function, we can define conditions. I'd start with a comment though. You can create comments by just doing -- and let's describe what we're doing so we know what we're doing in the future, what we were doing here. So let's listen for button inputs. And move Gary. A condition is pretty straightforward. You say if, and then you tell the program what to listen for. In our case, that's button, a button press, another built-in function. Button 0 equals the left button. And if that is pressed, then something should happen. And something will happen. Everything that's in between then and end will happen only if this condition is met. For now, let's decrease Gary's X position by saying that Gary's X position is the same, or gets set equal to Gary's X position minus 1. So whatever is here will be the new value of Gary X, which will cause him to walk left. Let's try this, okay? Execute your program by pressing Ctrl R and press left. Gary will happily walk off screen. Let's repeat this step for the other directions. So if button 1 is pressed, which is the right button, Gary's position will get increased. Now he can go in both ways, but he can't walk up and down yet. For that we need to modify Gary's Y position. I'll copy these two and just substitute the X by Y, so no longer references Gary's X position but the Y position. And now he should be able to walk up and down. Oh, we should change these buttons, because button 2 is gonna be the up arrow and button 3 is gonna be the down arrow. So now he can go in all the directions. He can walk over and go to the goal. Perfect. Now let's just check whether he's arrived there. I want the game to register when he's arrived and to play a little sound. For that we first need a sound. So here in the sound effect editor, I'm going to use my keyboard and I'm going to press M for a little beep that I can play with either this button or spacebar. We're going to use that to notify the player that he won. He got Gary to the goal. Check whether Gary is in goal. We use a built-in function called mget, which is an abbreviation of mapget. If mget, which will return the tile or the image that is on this position on the map, is equal to the position to the number of the sprite that represents the goal, so in our case that's 4, then the sound should be played. So if this condition mget is met, mget equals 4, then we want to play a sound. And we can do that by just using the built-in function called s of x, playing the sound effect. And our sound effect was sound effect 0. You can see that right here, sound effect 0. End. But we need to give mget a little more to work with. We need to get it a position. One concept that you need to understand is that the screen position is not the same as the map position. Each of these little images are 16 by 16 pixels. So we need to divide our screen position, so Gary's screen position, by 16 to get the map position. Check the bottom left corner. You can see the map coordinates that this image inhabits. That's why we need to convert the screen position by dividing it by 16 to a map position, so that our map get function understands what's going on. So we'll say Gary x divided by 16 and Gary y divided by 16 equals 4. Then the sound will play. And now we can walk over to the goal and the sound should play. Perfect! Gary won! Gary is very happy. Now we want to show everybody our great game. And to do that, we'll just go back to the command line by either pressing escape or clicking over here and say save Gary's adventure dot p64.png to save it as a shareable image. And it got saved. To view it, you go to your file system and you can pull it straight to your, where is it? Gary's Adventure. Pull it straight to your desktop so you can find it better. And if you want to export it from Picotron now, you just go in here again and type folder. If you now press enter, this will get you to your host's file system and you can share that file as you would any other image. And that's how you create a very, very simple game in Picotron. Have fun creating games and tell me what you can come up with. Bye bye.